On this busy News Friday, in 25 short days, you will decide the fate of this country. Everything is at stake. Will the amazing progress of the last 2 years continue, or will it come to a grinding halt? Well, the new radical Democratic Party, they are pushing their incivility, even violence. The media is now normalizing these disturbing comments and behavior. Now, what we're going to do tonight, we will break down the most important races, state by state, district by district. We have brand new damning information about some Democrats running for the U.S. Senate in red states. But first, the left sinks to a new low with their latest comments about Kanye West meeting with President Trump. What is being said is downright despicable and disgusting. So buckle up. It's time for the Friday edition of our Breaking News Opening Monologue. All right, the media, they're ramping up their sick, their vile, their ugly, their vicious attacks on rapper Kanye West. Why? For meeting with President Trump. That's why. Let's see. Kanye's talking about more jobs, more companies, more things being built in America, prison reform, safer neighborhoods. And the media, Hollywood elites, they are in a complete meltdown, sinking to new lows, if that's even possible. But it's all part of what is now their daily hatred campaign. I didn't actually think it could get this bad or even worse, but it has. Take a look.
Not only was this a crazy conversation for this White House, this is the kind of conversation that would typically be held between people wearing hospital bracelets.
I know they're supposed to discuss criminal justice reform, et cetera, but it was like watching a train wreck. Because it was.
There were a bunch of aides who flocked to the West Wing with their cameras. I heard from other West Wing aides who were hugely embarrassed that that had happened, felt that that was not a good look.
This is white supremacy by ventriloquism. A black mouth is moving, but white racist ideals are flowing from Kanye West's mouth.
Wow. Okay, I'm doing this for everybody who's watching us who turned their volume down. You can put it back up again.
But if you think you're going to get a thoughtful play-by-play and political analysis, you're not. Because that was an assault on our White House.
How is it possible that that rhetoric is acceptable? And over at fake news CNN, it's hard to imagine, but their comments have been even worse. Don Lemon leading the charge. He's been out of control all week long. He even made a sick remark about Kanye's late mother. That's how bad this has gotten. Take a look.
Kanye West is what happens when Negroes don't read.
And black folks are about to trade Kanye West in the racial draft. Now, all of a sudden, Kanye, because he's put on a MAGA hat and he's an attention whore like the president, he's all of a sudden now the model spokesperson. He's the token Negro of the Trump administration.
I think you had there a man who's clearly not okay and a president who's willing to exploit that.
It seemed to be the piece of Kanye's mental illness that is clearly on display and that of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue converged in such a powerful fashion. What Kanye West is doing is tragic and problematic, and we need to call it out for what it is.
What we saw was someone who is not in a healthy place from a mental point of view, from an emotional point of view.
What I saw was a minstrel show today. Him in front of all of these white people, mostly white people, embarrassing himself. Kanye's mother is rolling over in her grave.
Now, Don Lemon, the rest of these people working at fake news CNN, you should all really be very ashamed. It's unbelievable. Where's Jeff Zucker's stenographer, by the way, Humpty Dumpty Stelter, the self-appointed moral arbiter of all things media? Is this acceptable? Does he condone what was said on his own network? The silence couldn't be more deafening. Now, none of us should be surprised by any of this. You have the Destroy Trump media. They will stop now at nothing. Vilify Kanye, anyone who dares to try to work with the president, let's see, to create solutions to real problems of the forgotten men and women, that people that suffered under Obama's bad policies, to have safer cities, more jobs in America, prison reform. You talk about this is how you're treated? It is indefensible. Now, after Don Lemon's outrageous remarks, some are actually demanding CNN take action. Football legend Herschel Walker is actually calling for Don Lemon to be fired. Be very clear on this program. I do not support boycotts and firings. I'm a believer that you, the American people, you get to decide what you want to watch or not watch. I've said it many times. I don't support that. But I do think it would be appropriate that Don Lemon owes Kanye at least an apology. And maybe Don Lemon and his friends in the media, maybe they could spend some time covering the important topics that were discussed in the White House with Kanye and the president yesterday. How to help inner cities, how to lift people out of poverty. Look at this headline from Newsbusters. The network spends 6 minutes gawking at Kanye with Trump, 27 seconds on why. Now, we're going to have more on the media's reaction to Kanye's White House visit in a few minutes. But first, this week, Hillary Clinton, Eric Holder, they have proven once again that the left will continue to go low in an effort to try and win elections. Now, a new RNC ad is out, and it's calling out this new liberal, well, really the latest trend of liberal incivility. Take a look.
They go low, we kick.
And if you see anybody in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be. You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
Get up and please get up in the face of some Congress people.
Is this the quote-unquote mob?
Get up in their face. Follow them into gas stations, grocery stores, department stores. I've been telling you for months, this new radical Democratic Party is in a very alarming place, devoid of any moderates, devoid of any ideas that are going to help shape the country for our future, with very few exceptions. They are ginning up fear and hatred all across the country. Members of the media, they aren't doing much to cool things down either. Look at Nicole Wallace over at Conspiracy TV, MSNBC, admitting on air she was encouraging physical violence against then candidate Donald Trump during the primary. Take a look.
I told Jeb Bush after that debate that I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
Yeah, just punch him in the face. Is it any real surprise that Republicans are being harassed, targeted all across the country, being run out of restaurants, stalked in airports? The media also fueling this left-wing mob mentality. They've been trying to blame Republicans. NBC's Chuck Todd actually saying Donald Trump and the GOP, they're responsible. Take a look.
So what world are we living in where the president and Republican leaders are outraged at the ugly, nasty, bare-knuckles political environment they largely created? And they are outraged when a Democrat uses the kind of rhetoric and rabble-rousing that the president has been using for years.
In 25 short days, we, the American people, you have a real choice. Will you reward the tactics of the left, or will you in 25 days pull off another political upset? You have the power to shock the world. Now, yesterday, we showed you new undercover video taken by Project Veritas. In this disturbing video, you see a staffer for Tennessee Senate candidate Phil Bredesen calling voters in Tennessee ignorant and saying that Bredesen was lying when he said he would have voted to confirm Brett Kavanaugh. Now, if you take a look at this undercover video, we will let you decide what you think of what are lies to win power. Take a look.
Because, I mean, he wouldn't really, right?
What?
Vote for Kavanaugh?
I don't think so.
But I was so confused because I just can't believe that he would actually vote yes. Like
he wouldn't. But he's saying he wouldn't. It's politics. Which I don't know if that makes it worse or better. No, it makes it better, but it's still.
But what's the, like, I don't understand what's to gain by saying yes.
Moderate Republicans.
Is it because of, like, the voters?
Yeah, that's it.
So he'll lose voters if he says yes?
Oh, straight up. Yeah.
Are the people of Tennessee that ignorant?
Yeah.
All right, caught red-handed. Tennessee Victory 2018. They released a statement yesterday claiming the recording was made by a fake volunteer who, quote, used secret video recording equipment to capture uninformed and speculative comments made last weekend by college students and youth organizers. That's not completely true. Now, amidst a backlash among supporters and volunteers over Bredesen's statement supporting Kavanaugh, well, the Tennessee Democrat spokesman, well, guess what? he's stepping up as well. Now he's smearing gun owners. And according to reports, he said white male gun owners are, quote, the biggest terror organization on the planet. And in Arizona, we have more of the same. Shocking comments from Democratic hopeful Kristen Sinema. They continue to be unearthed. Now, back in 2010, she actually called Arizona the, quote, meth lab of democracy. That's what she wants to represent. In 2011, she called Arizonans crazy. Now, a spokesman for Sinema said the video, quote, she was frustrated that no one in the state legislature was standing up to out-of-state special interests, working to take away health care from children, making tuition more expensive, and take job security away from working families. By the way, that's not all. She promoted events at Arizona State University featuring a lawyer who represented, remember the blind sheikh? Andy McCarthy worked on that case. He was convicted in 1995 of being the mastermind of terrorist plots against this country. And tonight, CNN reporting back in 2003, Sinema was connected to many far-left groups. This is the new Democratic Party I have been telling you about. Now, is this who the people of Arizona, Tennessee want representing them? Look, here's what it comes down to. It's not complicated. If you vote in a red state for a Senate Democrat in 25 days, you're voting for Chuck Schumer because that's who leads the Democratic sheep off the left-wing cliff. If you vote for Democrats in these House races, you're basically voting for Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters. One thing is certain. The only way Democrats seemingly can win is to lie and deceive you, we the people, and also demonize opponents like they do every 2 years and every 4 years. They want to impeach the president, endless investigation. They want their crumbs back. They want to raise taxes, eliminate ICE, open borders, and they want to keep their signature, plan for health care, Obamacare, and vote everything that Chuck and Nancy want in. And that's how they will vote. Now, as we've done all week, here are 10 more races that we're keeping our eye on that will literally be the tipping point in this election. A balance of power in Washington. We start in Minnesota. This is a very important state in these midterms. Their first district's open race pits Republican Jim Hagedorn, where the first district's open race pits Republican Jim Hagedorn against Democrat Dan Feehan. It is a district that Donald Trump won by 15 points, but as of now, it's a close fight. In Minnesota's second district, Republican incumbent Jason Lewis is facing off against Democrat Angie Craig. On their third district in Minnesota, Eric Paulson is fighting off Democrat Dean Phillips. In the same state, we got our eye tonight on the 8th district, where Republican Pete Stauber, he squares off against Democrat Joe Radinovich. In Montana, at large, House District Republican Greg Gianforte, he has a modest lead at this moment against Democrat Kathleen Williams. And in Nebraska's 2nd district, GOP incumbent Don Bacon is being challenged by Democrat Kara Eastman. It's a district Trump only won narrowly. In Ohio, their first district, conservative Republican Steve Chabot, he's clinging to a slight lead. This now is a toss-up, a very important race. Also, staying in Ohio, where the president was tonight, 12th district, that features Troy Balderson taking on Danny O'Connor. In Ohio, in their 14th district, Republican incumbent David Joyce taking on Democrat Betsy Rader. And lastly, in South Carolina, their first district, Republican Kate Arrington is up against Democrat Joe Cunningham. This is an open seat left by Mark Sanford. So the bottom line is, in 25 days, the fate, the future of the country is going to be decided. Are we going to continue to prosper at record speed, or will progress be stalled by endless investigation, possible impeachment, higher taxes, open borders, Obamacare? Now, President Trump, he continues to keep his promises. Just today, we got amazing news. Remember the American pastor held in a Turkish prison for 2 years? He was released due to President Trump's intervention. Also, a tip of the hat to Jay Sekulow and the American Center for Law and Justice. Here's what the president said about this earlier today.
But we're very honored to have him back with us. He suffered greatly, but we're very appreciative to a lot of people, We spoke to Turkey, and he went through a system, and we got him out. They've been trying to get him out for a long time. Well, this has nothing to do with anything. There was no deal made at all. There was no deal. but we're very happy to have him and have him in good shape. I hear he's in very good shape.
So political prisoners being returned to the U.S., renewed respect in the world, economic prosperity right here at home. This is what is at stake in 25 days, and only you can shock the world once again. Joining us now with reaction, former governor of the great state of New Hampshire, John Sununu, and America Fighting Back Chairman Herman Cain. Welcome, both of you. Governor, let's start with you. Is there anything I'm saying that's wrong here? We've had amazing progress and success, both on the economic front, getting rid of burdensome regulation, the president's keeping his promises, and then you see a lot of vicious, angry Democrats that seem to not have any agenda that I see.
Sean, the mob rule that you're seeing on the Democratic side is really just the tip of the iceberg. It's indicative of a Democratic Party that's been bought and paid for by the George Soroses of the world, who really don't care about the American system, who don't like the way we live and our values and our principles. Those riots or mob actions are coordinated by groups that Soros has funded. They have a full-paid staff making sure these things happen. They pay for people to go there. They distribute the scripts. They print the signs. They distribute the shirts. And it goes beyond that. Soros has got leverage now in the Democratic primaries, and that's why you're getting candidates like the cinema in Arizona that has a horrible history that nobody noticed before. They're now seeing it. Soros handpicks those, supports them, and puts them out there. This Democratic Party is becoming a disgrace, and our Republican voters, our conservative voters, have to understand not only do they have to go out and vote as you have been asking them, they've got to take a couple of friends and family members that may not have voted and take them to vote to make sure that this is an election that goes the right way.
You know, Herman Cain, one thing that I think the Kavanaugh hearings has accomplished, even people, maybe they don't like Donald Trump's style. Maybe they were never Trumpers. Maybe they wanted or preferred one of the 16 other people that were running for the nomination. But it seems between the success, cutting taxes, originalists on the court, secure borders, peace through strength, it seems like a lot of people are beginning now to come around, and there seems Democrats are doing the impossible. They're uniting Republicans for once.
I think you're absolutely right. I just returned from Memphis, Tennessee, helping Charlotte Bergman, who is running for the United States Congress. And I got to tell you, talking to people at the hotel, at the airport, a lot of people are, in fact, opening their eyes. Look, all of those clips that you showed, how the liberal mob media is melting down, and they should be ashamed. Let me tell you who's ashamed. The people who have watched those networks and watched those people, and the ones who have supported Democratic candidates, they are the ones that are ashamed. And I hear more people, one, that are conservatives and Republicans who are going to make sure they vote. Two, I hear from a lot of independents who are going to vote Republican. And I even hear some people who voted Democrat say enough is enough. They're voting a straight Republican ticket in November. I'm optimistic.
Am I wrong, Governor, when I characterize if you're voting for a Democrat for the House or the Senate, you're voting for Pelosi and Maxine Waters in the House, and you're voting for Chuck Schumer in the Senate, because they will vote almost 98% of the time with the leadership.
And you're voting for universal health care that they correctly used to call Medicare for all. Now they're avoiding that language. But it is a health care program that will undermine the Medicare program that's out there. It will hurt the Medicare that seniors have paid for and earned over the years. And they want to give the same kind of a program, parts of the Medicare program, to people for free. They're trying to promote a socialist agenda. So if people vote for a Democrat, they're voting for Schumer, they're voting for Pelosi back in their leadership positions, and they're voting for legislation that will undermine health care programs, the tax cuts, and all the progress that Donald Trump has achieved.
Yeah, Herman, you know, I don't have the confidence yet. I think in the Senate, I think Heidi Heitkamp was likely to lose. John Tester's in trouble. Joe Donnelly's in trouble. Claire McCaskill's in trouble. We got now Sinema in trouble. Martha McSally's a great hero. Dean Heller, hopefully he's coming back. Rick Scott's another great candidate in Florida. It's the House that I worry the most about.
The desperate Democrats have made sure that there is no middle ground between what Republicans will do and what Democrats will do. You are absolutely right. Either in the House or the Senate, there is no middle ground. Their desperate tactics have made sure that there is no middle ground, which is why I hear a lot of people saying they're voting a straight Republican ticket to save this country.
If only they'd add 999, we'd be perfect. It'd be the perfect year.
Well, 2 out of 3 is not bad, Sean, okay?
All right. Herman Cain, Governor Sununu, thank you both for being with us. When we come back, more reaction to the deplorable comments made by the media about Kanye West. We got Joe Concha, Lawrence Jones, and Jay Sekulow reacts after 2 years in jail in Turkey through the work of the president. And Jay, Pastor Brunson, released from a Turkey prison.
We spoke to Turkey, and he went through a system, and we got him out. They've been trying to get him out for a long time. Well, this has nothing to do with anything. There was no deal made at all. There was no deal. But we're very happy to have him and have him in good shape. I hear he's in very good shape.
All right, that was President Trump earlier tonight talking about the release of American pastor Andrew Brunson. Joining us now on the phone from the American Center for Law and Justice, also the president's attorney, and also at times he's been mine, Jay Sekulow. You have worked on this case, Jay, from the very beginning. I know how hard you work. I know how hard the president has worked on this. This is great news tonight.
No, this is a big win. And, it was funny when you did the introduction. I feel like I'm representing everybody tonight. But what a great day it is for the Brunson family and for Pastor Brunson himself. And the president and the administration did just a phenomenal job in moving this case forward. Sean, I've handled a lot of these, and the fact is they're difficult. There are times when there's progress and there's times when they're not. And this was even more complicated because it was a NATO ally. But the end result of it, the positive aspect of this, is that the pastor has been released unconditionally and is en route. He may already have landed in Germany and will be coming back to the United States as early as tomorrow. So this is a great win. And again, a huge thank you to the president, to the administration, and to members of Congress as well.
Jay.
But the president really led the charge here to get this done, and I really appreciate it. So,
and there was no deal, and the charge for Pastor Brunson was he was preaching the gospel, right?
Yes, I mean, actually, the indictment itself has the word, it's in Turkish, of course, but it's called Christianization, and that is, they view that act of running a small church, sharing the gospel, as an act that was an act of terrorism. That's how they define it. This was a terrorism case, believe it or not. But again, the great news is he's been released, he's been returned. I appreciate you covering it, and again, appreciate all the work that the president did in getting this accomplished for the family.
All right, Jay Sekulow, I know you've been working on this since the beginning. Congratulations, President. Also, great job. Joining us now, we have more on our top story from earlier tonight, the media's vitriol towards Kanye West. All of the things that have been said. Why he met with the president, and he was talking about solutions. You don't have to take my word for it. Take a look.
I felt like I was sitting in on a psychiatric visit.
It's a travesty inside of a sham, inside of a mockery. Why fan the flames of the foolish?
It was really quite an embarrassment. I mean, what a sideshow.
This was a giant, shiny object in the Oval Office wearing a red hat.
Pretty unbelievable. Joining us now with reaction, media reporter for The Hill, Joe Concha, and the editor-in-chief of Campus Reform, Lawrence Jones, is with us. Joe, let's start with you. Just when you think it can't get any lower. I mean, here we go. I listened closely to what Kanye was saying. Maybe could have done without the cursing in the Oval Office. Fair comment, fair criticism. But he was talking about prison reform. And I think, in the case of Alice Marie Johnson, who I had on this program, what a great case for prison reform. Doesn't mean you let people out without paying a price. And he's talking about jobs, and he's talking about investment. He's talking about manufacturing and factories in America and safer cities. So tell me why that's a problem for so many people.
those are things that are pretty important to people outside the media bubble, right, Sean? And remember, Kanye was considered poignant and a brave truth teller back in 2005 when he said George W. Bush doesn't care about black people. So it's funny how that's turned. And look, I don't know how we got to a place now where we have rhetoric on a nationally televised news organization where you could say the words token Negro about an African-American entertainer, and the anchor of that program laughs along. And I look, in former CNN people are now speaking out about segments like that. Steve Krakauer was a senior digital producer at CNN. Here's what he had to say, and I'm quoting, "This is an absolutely shameful segment on Don Lemon's show last night about Kanye West. And if a similar segment occurred on Fox News about a liberal black person, CNN would be covering it as major news, and rightly so." That's exactly right. The Pitchfork store would run out of pitchforks. The studio that you're in would be surrounded by a media horde and protesters saying, "How could you ever say that about an African-American?" I'll give you one more quote and we'll get to Lawrence. Glenn Greenwald, all right, he's very honest in his convictions. He's from the Intercept. Here's what he had to say, quoting, "I can't remember an episode that has produced more crude, contemptuous, reckless, stigmatizing, and harmful discourse about mental health issues than the partisan anger primarily emanating from cable news and social media over the last 48 hours due to Kanye West's White House visit." I have nothing to add. That is said perfectly.
Lawrence Jones, if somebody is African-American and they are conservative, Deneen Borelli, Niger Innes, Larry Elder, I can run through so many personal friends of mine. They are excoriated, they are dismissed, they are called every name in the book. It's horrible. Candace Owens more recently.
Let me tell you this, Sean. What happened in the White House yesterday was needed. People have been calling for a national conversation about issues facing our community. Was it in the way I would have did it? Absolutely not. But Kanye speaks for a lot of people in the tone that a lot of people in my community have some of their experiences that they have experienced lately. And so what we've seen is a lot of people in the mainstream media that sit on their high pedestals and attack him as being mentally unfit. They attack him as being a sellout to the community. When Kanye, quite frankly, has been talking about this for years. If you've ever listened to his hip hop, he's been talking about these issues. But he's not just getting this from the media, though, Sean. He's getting this from conservative intellectuals who say he's not conservative enough. He's not saying things the right way. I'm sorry, Kanye never said he was a conservative. He's a free thinker. He's speaking about issues of facing our community. He doesn't have to check every single checkbox of the conservative platform to speak for our community, Sean. And it's the same mob that we see.
His wife,
yeah,
you know, in the case of Miss Johnson that was released, if you know, they're helping to make the country better. He's talking about safety and security in our cities. He's talking about bringing jobs and manufacturing back to America. He's talking about prison reform. I'm like, okay, those are all great ideas. This is good for everybody.
But Sean, this is not about Kanye. This goes back to Donald Trump. Because he is connected to the president of the United States, they want to bash him. We're seeing the mob happen, and I'll say this.
Oh, the president can get it done, can he?
He can get it. He can get it done, but there is a mob that's after him, and we've been reporting it at the Leadership Institute's campus reform for a while. It started on the college campuses. They tried to take out Kavanaugh. Now they're going to try to take out Kanye. I don't think they're going to be successful. Kanye's been doing this for a long time.
Last word, Joe.
Look, it's just another black eye for our media, and unfortunately, it's only going to get worse when the 2020 election starts in a couple of months, Sean.
Sad. All right, thank you both. When we come back, the ladies of The View, they viciously, again, they've done it before, attacking the First Lady, Melania Trump, 25 days out of an election. You won't believe what they said today. That's next. First Lady Melania Trump has long been the target of ruthless attacks from the left, and there are no signs of them slowing down. Now, the woman on The View, well, they didn't hold back this week. Take a look.
Can we talk about this gigantic white pith helmet sitting in the shot? And it's really not a good thing to see because it represents a lot of stuff for folks.
This is also the same woman that, in the midst of what happened to Puerto Rico, wore a jacket that said, "I really don't care, do you?" So when she threw down that gauntlet, I've decided not to care about anything she says from now on. What she wears, what she does, what she says. Is it possible that she's not concerned with his mistresses because she was one of them? Is that possible?
Want to bet they'd never treat Hillary Clinton or Michelle Obama that way? It's pretty despicable. Now, the press secretary for the First Lady responded to those attacks today in this tweet, saying, quote, "Day 2 of attacks from The View. Yvette Nicole Brown, check your facts before you accuse someone of being a mistress. She is the First Lady of the United States. She deserves your respect and certainly not your lies. Disgusting, hashtag disrespectful, hashtag accusation, hashtag liberal media." Here with reaction. American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Schlapp, RNC spokesperson Kayleigh McEnany. You know, if you reverse things, though, Kayleigh, it's very obvious the double standard, because what you'd have is if this was about Michelle Obama, if this was about Hillary Clinton, you know, not only is it the First Lady, it's Ivanka Trump, it's Ted Cruz's wife, it's Sarah Sanders, it's Pam Bondi, it's Secretary Nielsen. Reverse any of these instances, and what would the liberal reaction be?
Oh, it would be out of this world, Sean. There are two standards here, one for conservative women, another for liberal women. These women on The View, these liberal leftists, they pose as feminists, Sean, but they are not feminists. They are faux feminists. They are fake feminists. They put on a platform Hillary Clinton, who has a history, a documented history of bullying the accusers of Bill Clinton. They put her on a pedestal while claiming the beacon of feminism. It is wrong, it is abhorrent, and those are shameful comments that you just played.
Let's talk, Matt, about that double standard. And I know your wife, Mercedes, has come under fire a number of times unfairly. Probably one of the nicest people like Melania you'd ever meet in your life.
Yeah, this is true. Let me just give people a little view of Melania. She doesn't get out there and do a ton of public things because she's raising her son. She's a wonderful mother. She's a wonderful wife.
Whoa.
And
They've
she
attacked
represents
him, too. They've attacked the 10-year-old.
Of course,
they'll attack
they'll attack everyone, but let's really look at this trip. First of all, she goes overseas, and it's inappropriate probably to comment on someone's looks, but let's face it, she is a stunner. She looks great. She's a fashion icon overseas. Here, they won't put her on the covers of any magazines. Overseas, they all know that she's epic. And when she went over there, she also was asked about the Kavanaugh controversy. And I have a theory. They didn't like her answer because her answer was, "You're innocent until you're proven guilty, and there ought to be a better, more fairer system." And they're sure taking it out on her. And you know what it is? It's like a gathering of the mean girls, and I think most women see this for what it is.
What is the answer, considering that the media would absolutely be apoplectic if it was conservatives or conservative activists doing what they do to Melania, to any other woman, but again, the attacking, the confronting in restaurants, etc. Kayleigh.
Yeah, that's right. You know, there are two standards, as I said. And, you know, when I was over at CNN and had to talk about Hillary Clinton, I was told by several of my co-panelists, remember to treat her with respect. Let her take her rightful place in history as the first, soon-to-be first female president. Well, that's the standard Hillary Clinton gets. Melania Trump, on the other hand, the press makes up conspiracy theories about her when she is undergoing a health procedure. They make up things about her. Horrible. Make up things about her son, make up all sorts of things about her immigration status, her marriage. They attack her ruthlessly, but she rises every time they attack.
Like with the Kavanaugh case, I see an overreaching on their part, meaning the left's part, Matt Schlapp, and 25 days out of an election, I think this it could be what makes the big difference.
I don't think the Democrats understand something about the American people. They're decent. They believe people should be treated with dignity and fairness. When you step over the line, yeah, of course they're going to take it out on you. But Melania Trump, she represents us overseas. She's our first lady. You know, I'd say hands off her son. I'd say be decent to her. And I do think the Democrats are overreaching. Let me tell you something. The House is going to come down to about 25 seats decided by 2 points or less. It's all on the razor's edge. And the mob mentality and this meanness, I think it does nothing but help the Republican cause.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you both. Having met Melania on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
Wonderful, loving, amazing person. English her fifth language. An amazing mom. One of the nicest people you'll meet. All right. Thank you both. When we come back, now Fusion GPS co-founder, following Rod Rosenstein's lead, well, he's now allegedly refusing to appear before the House Judiciary Committee next week. he wants to invoke the Fifth. We'll check in with Catherine Herridge with a full report. Congressman Jim Jordan, Sarah Carter, Greg Jarrett, as we continue this busy Friday news night. Straight ahead. So Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson is defying Congress, reportedly refusing to appear before lawmakers next week. Joining us now with all the details in Washington, our own Catherine Herridge. Catherine, first Rod Rosenstein, now we got Glenn Simpson.
That's right, Sean. Glenn Simpson will plead the Fifth next week rather than testify to Congress. His firm Fusion GPS was paid by the DNC and Clinton campaign for its work on the so-called Trump dossier. In this letter, Simpson's lawyer questioned the House Judiciary Committee's motive, saying the goal of this committee is to discredit and otherwise damage witnesses. Last year, Simpson told another House panel that he first met with Justice Department official Bruce Orr after the 2016 election. That contradicts Orr's own emails that show contact months earlier. Orr, as you know, became a back channel to the FBI for the dossier after British spy Christopher Steele was fired. A review by Fox News of congressional testimony, court records, and other related documents indicates at least 5 sources brought the dossier to the FBI's attention before and after Election Day. Earlier this year, former FBI Director James Comey seemed vague about the dossier and what he knew of its political origins.
The Steele dossier comes out sometime early July. When did you personally learn about the memos in the dossier?
Sometime in the fall. I don't remember exactly when.
You're talking fall of...
fall of 16.
Right.
I remember being given a copy of it. I don't know whether it was September, October, sometime in that period of time.
And tonight, the Washington Times is reporting that Glenn Simpson will defy Congress and not show up next week on Capitol Hill to take the Fifth. Sean, we're working to independently confirm that reporting.
All right, Catherine Herridge in Washington, thank you. Here with reaction, author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, The Russia Hoax, The Illicit Scheme to Clear Hillary Clinton, Frame Donald Trump, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, also Fox News contributor Sarah Carter, and Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan. Thank you all. Congressman, let's start with you because we now have a situation where Glenn Simpson won't testify, Rod Rosenstein won't testify. Yeah. Congress doing their job of oversight has been obstructed the entire way, and you wait years and you still don't get documents. And they never told the court in FISA about the political origins, meaning Clinton bought and paid for all this.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. There's a pattern here. We should compel Glenn Simpson. We should make him come out and to come to Congress and actually assert his privilege. He shouldn't just be able to phone it in. He should have to come there. But understand what they're trying to do. They're just trying to run out the clock. They actually want the Democrats to win. And if the Democrats win, they're never going to be called in front of Congress, and we'll never get the answers for the American people. That's their goal. And Simpson is just part of a bigger pattern. Lois Lerner at the IRS targets conservatives. She takes the Fifth. Brian Pagliano sets up Clinton's email system and email server. He takes the Fifth in front of Congress. And now Glenn Simpson, the guy hired by the Clinton campaign who went out and hired Christopher Steele to put together the fake news dossier, he's taken the Fifth. And frankly, I'm tired of it, and I know the American people are.
You know, Sarah, you got now the political origins that was literally never told to the FISA court. 4 warrants, the bulk of information is the phony dossier. He, again, helped put this thing together with Christopher Steele. And beyond the fraud, now you have this institutionalized obstruction, and the people involved, they won't even talk about it. They won't even go to Congress. They won't hand them documents on it.
Well, which is the reason why Congress should subpoena Rod Rosenstein. That should be on their agenda. And this is the reason why Glenn Simpson should be found in contempt if he doesn't come and discuss this before Congress. We know a couple of things, Sean, based on the reporting today, based on sources that I've spoken to. It appears that Glenn Simpson lied. And if he did, he needs to explain himself. And this is something Congress should hold him accountable for. Glenn Simpson, remember, he was the one that was apparently spreading all of the stories about the Alpha server, the Russian bank that was communicating with Trump Tower. And then we eventually figured out, based on evidence, that that was not true. The FBI threw that out the minute they started looking at it. But it didn't stop Glenn Simpson from spreading malicious lies through the media, which he was doing even with the dossier. I mean, look, over and over again, we've said this, Sean. It looks like the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC were the only ones colluding with Fusion GPS, colluding with British foreign intelligence asset, a former Christopher Steele, who was then colluding with the Russians. There is no evidence that President Trump had any kind of collusion or communication with the Russians during the election. So the entire special counsel was really based on false premises.
It was based on it, but now it all begins to fit together, Greg Jarrett, and that is that now we know what the leak strategy was about, because Lisa Page had said, oh, there's no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. Sure. Peter Strzok even said there's no there. So 9 months in, they had absolutely nothing. Right. So then the leak of the dossier begins to create the impression that something had happened, but that's Hillary's bought and paid for Russian lies. Sure. You know, irony of all ironies. And then we got guys apparently talking about wearing a wire against the President of the United States and maybe trying to invoke the 25th Amendment.
You know, President Trump said recently, I don't have an attorney general, and he's right about that. On the very first day in office, Jeff Sessions began his recusal from the case. If the president had a real and competent attorney general, he would have called Comey into his office and said, show me your evidence. And that attorney general would have discovered there was no evidence. He would have said, show me the evidence in the FISA warrant applications to spy on the Trump campaign, and would have discovered that it was all conjured by Hillary Clinton based on fabricated evidence. And that good and competent attorney general would have marched over to the White House and told the president, you must fire James Comey for violating a myriad of regulations and launch a serious investigation in front of the grand jury into the Russia hoax.
It sounds like we're getting there, though, because now you have, you know, with James Baker's testifying and Lisa Page apparently telling some truth and Andrew McCabe in trouble, they all seem to be turning on each other. Here's the question. Will we ever get the declassified, unredacted 302s, Gang of Eight information, the FISA warrants? And do you all believe that this is now coming to a head and backfiring and people will pay the price? Jim Jordan.
Yeah, I think we should get all that information. We have asked for it multiple times. If you remember, a few weeks ago, the president initially said he was going to. Now he's going to run it through the inspector general. So hopefully soon we get it.
Sarah?
Oh, absolutely. I think the 302s will come before anything else, but I certainly believe that the Gang of Eight documents and the FISA will also come, maybe even after the election. That might be a little bit of a wait.
Great.
Well, the rats are trapped in a cage and they're gnawing at each other, and they're going to turn each other in and sing like canaries.
Yeah. Okay, great. Very descriptive. Wordsmith. A very good job. All right, thank you all. And when we come back, Rush is asking, why are Democrats so angry if they think they're going to win in 25 days? That's actually a really good question. That's next, straight ahead. All right, so yesterday Rush Limbaugh had a great question for Democrats. This is brilliant. Take a look.
Why are they so mad, folks? Why all the desperation? They're going to win the House. They're going to win the Senate. Mueller is going to prove that Trump colluded with Russia. Between inciting violence and launching racist attacks, we are witnessing an attempt to bully the American population into surrender. That is what's happening here. Democrats are strangely angry at a time when they think everything is going their way.
What a great point. They think they're going to win. Why are they so angry? Why the mobs? All right, unfortunately, that's all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us.